The warning has turned into a threat, as the European Commission ups the pressure on Poland. Welcome to State of the Union. There will no longer be a safety net for Warsaw regarding its judicial reforms. The European Commission says it is ready to trigger Article 7 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. This article is often referred to as the nuclear option of the institutions, since it can result in the suspension of voting rights of a member state, the ultimate sanction. The Commission therefore remains steadfast in its opposition to the Polish Conservative government. The European Commission has sent Poland a set of recommendations regarding its judicial overhaul. However, Vice President Timmermans said this is not a blank cheque, and if judges are fired, a red line will have been crossed.
The recommendation does not prevent Article 7 being activated directly in cases sudden deterioration requires immediate and stronger action. The Commission's recommendation asks the Polish authorities not to take any measure to dismiss or force the retirement of Supreme Court judges. If such a measure is taken, the Commission is ready to immediately trigger the Article 7(1) procedure.
The Commission has given Poland 1 month to address these concerns, but as protests continue across Polish cities, Carnegie Europe told Euronews that the general population could be the biggest influence on President Duda.
One other aspect, and this will influence, I think, President Duda's next moves, is actually the huge role of the opposition. And I'm not talking about the established opposition civic platform. I'm talking about the tens of thousands of ordinary Poles who have come out to defend the values of freedom of the press, independence of the judiciary, checks and balances, separation of powers. And of course, they're very much pro-EU. They're going to play a very big role over the summer. And it's interesting that all this is happening over the summer when people have time to demonstrate.
Article 7 of the Lisbon Treaty allows the EU to suspend rights of a member state if a qualified majority decide the rule of law or human rights have been infringed upon. Transatlantic relations are strained once again. In a tweet, US President Trump accused the European Union of protectionism. Donald Trump boasted in 140 characters about discussions conducted by the US to obtain a major trade agreement with the United Kingdom. Could be very big and exciting. Jobs. The European Union is very protectionist with the United States. Stop, he said. Another American test came from Congress. The House of Representatives passed a bill that strengthens sanctions against Russia, but this bill could also affect European companies, especially in the energy sector. The Commission is therefore sounding the alarm and warning Washington. The European Commission has again raised concerns over proposed US sanctions on Russia as the bill is passed by the US House of Representatives. It's feared the ploy will damage EU energy independence. Analyst Christine Berzina says the move could also damage transatlantic relations.
Perhaps this is too heavy-handed, and the imposition of the American will and the American declaration that it is the policy of the U.S. to oppose Nord Stream 2, this will offend Europe. Europe needs to solve Nord Stream 2 on its own. It's controversial here. And for the U.S. to put such a heavy hand and such a heavy comment on it really is not a good sign for transatlantic relations. Brussels doesn't need to retaliate against anything yet. We're still at a moment for diplomatic relations and for conversation across the Atlantic.
In a statement, Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said the EU is committed to Russian sanctions, but concerns remain over how the current bill could affect the Nord Stream project and the Baltic liquefied natural gas project. Despite calls from civil groups and EU officials for the release of human rights activists, Turkey remains unflinching. At the end of a meeting in Brussels with the head of European diplomacy, the Turkish foreign minister swept away criticism of attacks on the rule of law and freedom of the press. In response, the Union reiterated its commitment to the respect for fundamental rights. Despite their differences, the political dialogue between the Union and Ankara endures. Turkey remains a key partner as Europe continues to respond to the migrant crisis. And, in another attempt to limit the arrival of refugees, the 28 decided to extend the European naval operation Sophia in the Mediterranean until 2018. Launched in 2015, this mission targets the people smugglers, while also supporting Libyan coastguards. Operation Sophia has so far resulted in the arrest of 110 suspected smugglers and traffickers who were then transferred to the Italian authorities. 470 ships have been neutralized and nearly 40,000 people rescued. The European response to the crisis and the system of refugee relocation has been reinforced this week. The Advocate General of the European Court of Justice proposed to reject the claims of Hungary and Slovakia, which contest its legality. The European Court of Justice will reject a case brought by Hungary and Slovakia that the EU migrant quota system is not legal, according to a preliminary opinion. The Commissioner for Migration added that it is not too late to stop legal retaliations.
Now, we see readiness to respond positively to this last message we have sent. We are ready to stop all these procedures. There is still time, approximately 1 month, during which these governments are invited to change position. From the moment they do so, we shall remedy the situation.
Hungary and Slovakia brought the case after being outvoted in 2015 over the relocation of 120,000 migrants to EU member states. Hungarian Justice Minister Vlna argues the decision is political, influenced by American-Hungarian philanthropist George Soros. The court is the next speaker in line in the Soros project after the European Commission and the European Council, as the main elements of the opinion have a political content that aims to hide the lack of legal arguments. ECJ Justice Yves Beau said the relocation is legal because of the clearly identified emergency situation. Greece has successfully returned to the bond market. After a 3-year absence, Athens gradually returns to the sphere of world finance. This step was presented as a test of the country's financial confidence. And finally, we take a look at the European agenda after the summer break. On the 6th of September, the foreign ministers will come together for an informal meeting. On the 11th, MEPs meet in Strasbourg for the plenary session of Parliament. The session will be marked by the annual speech of the President of the European Commission on the State of the Union. And on the 24th of September, German voters will head to the polls for their legislative elections. That's all from Brussels this week. State of the Union will return in September. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.